What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction to Harry Nilsson and his classic Nilsson Schmilsson, which I've never heard, if you can believe that. And now I get to hear it, thanks to our friend, longtime patron, supporter of the channel, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you'd like to support us anyway, check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen. Now, being the Beatles guy that I am, and the Beatles videos we have up and all the research I do, I mean, Harry's name comes up a lot, right? I do know one song off of here, but for some reason, just never given it a listen. So I'm going to give you a little background on Harry. If you don't know it, we'll jump into this album pretty quickly. But since I didn't know it, I thought there might be some of you that don't know it. Harry Nilsson, sometimes credited as just Nilsson, was an American singer-songwriter who reached the peak of his commercial success in the early 1970s. His work is characterized by pioneering vocal overdub experiments, returns to the Great American Songbook, and fusions of Caribbean sounds. He was one of the few major pop rock recording artists to achieve significant commercial success without ever performing public concerts or undertaking regular hours. I found that to be fascinating. Born in Brooklyn, he moved to LA as a teenager to escape his family's poor financial situation. While working as a computer programmer at a bank, he grew interested in musical composition and close harmony singing, and was successful in having some of his songs recorded by various artists, such as the Monkees. In 1967, he signed with RCA with his debut Pandemonium Shadow Show, followed by a variety of releases, including a collaboration with Randy Newman. Nilsson Sings Newman in 1970, and the original children's story The Point in 1971. He created the first remix album, Aerial Pandemonium Ballet, in 1971, and recorded the first mashup song, You Can't Do That, in 1967. I just thought all that stuff was interesting. This guy's a pioneer in a lot of things. His most commercially successful album is this one, produced the international top 10 singles Without You and Coconut. He had one other top 10 hit. It was Everybody's Talking from 1968. Was featured prominently in the 1969 film Midnight Cowboy. And then a version of his song One, of course, was released by Three Dog Night in 1969 and also reached the top 10. So Harry was at least collecting those songwriting royalties. During a 1968 press conference, the Beatles were asked what their favorite American group was and answered Nilsson. Sometimes called the American Beatle. I've never heard that, but that's what this says. He soon formed close relationships with John Lennon and Ringo Starr, of course, joining them with the Hollywood Vampires Drinking Club. He and Lennon produced one collaborative album, I did not know this, called Pussycats in 1974. In 1994, he died of a heart attack while in the midst of recording what became his last album, Lost and Found, which they didn't release until 2019. He was voted number 62 in Rolling Stone's 2015 list of the 100 greatest songwriters of all time, where he is described as, quote, a pioneer of the Los Angeles studio sound and a crucial bridge between 1960s psychedelia and the 1970s singer-songwriter era. He had 19 studio albums. Now, some of those are soundtracks. So this album, Nilsson Schmilsson, was his 7th studio album, released in November of 1971. It's his most commercially successful work, producing 3 of his best-known songs. It was the first of 2 albums recorded in London and produced by Richard Perry. Went to 2 in the US, 3 in Australia. Pitchfork gave it a 9.4 out of 10. And the Village Voice, very prestigious at the time, gave it an A-. He performed well at the 1973 Grammys, earning a nomination for Album of the Year, while Without You, which we'll get to in a little bit, won the Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. In 2006, this album was ranked 84 on Pitchfork's top 100 albums of the 70s, and Rolling Stone's going to do you one better on their 2020 list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. It ranks at 281. All songs on here are written by Harry, unless I note otherwise. There's a few that are not. One in particular, a successful one. The music will not be in this video, but it'll be a Vimeo link below, so follow along with us. And we'll kick this off, of course, with the album opener, Gotta Get Up. First release is the B-side to his single, Without You. It's about the transition from carefree youth to adult responsibility. It was originally attempted all the way back in March of 1968 as a potential track for his Aerial Ballet album, and in 1969 for his album that was simply titled Harry. This earlier version of the song is cheerier and more up-tempo than the recording that was released on this album, this one. All right, I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Carl. Let's get after it. All right, Gotta Get Up. What an interesting arrangement on this thing, right? You got everything. You've got the great Klaus Vormann is on bass, Jim Gordon on drums, Chris Spedding on guitar, but you've got a trombone, you've got a trumpet, you've got an accordion, got all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of a song about, having to get older, like he's out partying, but now he's got to get up and go to work. And then, this girl who knows this sailor, and I won't go into all the sort of details, but it's pretty funny. The chorus is very catchy, so a great way. I don't know this song, yet it had a sound of like familiarity, if that makes sense. Like it sounds pleasant. Next up, we have Driving Along. All right, Driving Along, another really pleasant song. Just like the sound of that. Harry sounds great. I like the arrangement. He's just talking about driving along, noticing the people I think that are talking to each other and growing farther and farther apart, and just kind of plays on that, spending the time with each other, but we're all growing farther apart, whether it's individual relationships or maybe he was a commentary on the world itself. Instead of coming together, we were growing apart. So you could definitely see in 1971. I mean, you can definitely see it right now when I filmed this in 2023, but a good second song. Up to one of them he didn't write, Early in the Morning. Written by Leo Hickman, Louis Jordan, and Dallas Bartley. Is recorded by Louis Jordan and his Timpani 5 in 1947. It's an early example of a blues which incorporates Afro-Cuban rhythms and percussive instruments. Jordan and his band later performed the song in the 1949 film Lookout Sister. Why is that important? I'll tell you why, boys and girls. Because it was inspiration for James Brown and Chuck Berry. They both mentioned that movie and how much it influenced them. So we'll see if he keeps the original arrangement on this. Early in the Morning shows the diversity of Harry already, right? I mean, I told you all his accolades at the start and how he wasn't afraid to experiment, just throwing this on here. You know, a blues song that still has blues tinge to it, even though, you know, we've got a keyboard and a little bit different sounds that you're not necessarily going to hear on a blues album. But yeah, I like that. And the basic premise of the song is, you know, this guy got in a fight with his girlfriend. It's early in the morning, but he wants to make things right. He can't sleep in peace, so he goes to her friend's house, knocks on the door. It's early in the morning, goes to her dad's house, which is a bold move. Get out of here, man. It's early in the morning. Then he goes to a restaurant and lamenting that, you know, things are not going right, but it's early in the morning. So a good one. Next up, we have the Moonbeam song. The Moonbeam song, kind of a abstract. Have you ever thought about this, and this while you're doing this? But almost a dreamy type quality to his vocals, especially in that first verse. But then it takes on almost this country type of melody to it, and you kind of get the backings coming in there. So another interestingly arranged song that doesn't just fit into some sort of theme throughout the album, which I like, right? It's a very pleasant song. We're going to finish out the traditional side one with the song Down. All right, Down. Not so much a dense song on the lyrics. You know, he's going down. You need all these things. He's going down. He's going down. But the arrangement of it was fantastic. The horns, the energy from Harry. A good way to finish off side one. And now we get to side two, the song I Do Know Without You. It's written by Pete Ham and Tom Evans, of course, of the great Badfinger British group, and first released on their 1970 album, No Dice, which we do have a reaction up to. It's been recorded by over 180 artists. Paul McCartney once described the ballad as, quote, the killer song of all time. In 1972, writers Ham and Evans received the British Academy's prestigious Nobel Award for Best Song musically and lyrically. Unfortunately, it's one of the most tragic stories in rock music. Badfinger never achieved the success they should have, and the two songwriters, Ham and Evans, both ended up taking their lives separately and years apart. But a lot of it over songwriting royalties, and some people say, in Evans's case, is because of songwriting royalties for this, but who knows exactly. Harry Nilsson once told in an interview when he asked why he covered this song, he said, we did it because my career was on the wane and we wanted something to make a hit. So that was a really good choice. The interesting story about it is he originally, when he first heard it, thought it was a Beatles song, right? He heard it at a party. And so he's like, wow. Then when he figured out it wasn't a Beatles song, it was a Badfinger song, he decided to record it. Went to number one in the US for 4 weeks, number one in the UK for 5 weeks. In 1973, this is the one he won Grammy Award for Best Pop Male Vocal Performance. And Tom Evans, one of the two songwriters, in 1972, on finding out that Harry had recorded the song as a single, he said, quote, we're in our studios in London. We'd gone through one of those periods where things weren't going too well. This guy came in and said, are you Badfinger? I'm Harry Nilsson. I've got this song to play for you. It was his version of Without You. He said he was going to use it as a single. We're thinking about other songs we could lay on him. No one had ever recorded any of our songs until then. It had been our ambition to write songs other people would record. It's one of the most exciting things that has happened. So, you know, also financially, it's very successful for them. In 2021, on Rolling Stone's updated top 500 songs of all time, this came in at number 496. And if you were alive and well in the 90s, you're probably going to know this song because Mariah Carey took it to number 3 or 4. I can't remember, in the 90s. All right, the iconic Without You. Now, it's a well-written song. There's not really much to these lyrics, right? There's 2 verses that are pretty short and verse 1 repeats. But really, this song, I mean, it's got a nice, it's got the French horn, it's got the strings in there, so it's got this elegant, nice grand arrangement. But the star of this song and what makes it is Harry, right? And when he hits that extra note, right, gets up in that falsetto and just goes up during that, I'm not going to do it because I can't do it. So like, that's what makes this song stick in your head. That's the magic of this song, in my opinion. Like I said, really well written, but it's that vocal performance on this one that makes it stand out. Next up, we have Coconut. It was the third single, went to 8 in the US, 42 in the UK, 5 in Canada. The lyrics feature Harry singing 3 characters, a narrator, a woman, and a doctor, each in a different voice. The woman drinks a mixture of lime juice and coconut water, becomes sick, calls the doctor. The doctor's annoyed at being woken up, tells her to drink the same thing again and call in the morning. All right, Coconut. So an interesting story is it just talks it out like I talked about in the beginning, just calling the doctor. And so I knew this song, I knew that, put the lime in the coconut. I knew that part. I think it's been played in a movie, and stuff. I've never heard this song. And so I will tell you this much, it's incredibly creative. And to go to Without You to this song is amazing. It's probably going to end up on my faves or honorable mention, but I don't know if I could listen to this song a bunch of times. I will say that, but I understand how creative it is and how good it is. Next up, we have Let the Good Times Roll, written by Shirley Goodman and Leonard Lee. It's recorded by Shirley and Lee in 1956, went to 20 in the US, that 1956 recording. Let the Good Times Roll. I thought I knew this song, like not his version, but other versions of this. I think I do, and maybe they're faster. I don't know, or maybe I'm just thinking of another song, but well done. And once again, I know I keep repeating myself, the diversity on this album is crazy. We got Harry jumping in here with a nice harmonica. I mean, that was Harry on that. So a really good job on that. Speaking of jumping, now we got Jump Into the Fire. This is the second single, went to 27 in the US, 16 in Canada. He performs the song in the 1974 Apple film Son of Dracula, which he stars in as the lead, Count Downey, and is featured in the 2015 film A Bigger Splash, featuring Ralph Fiennes and Tilda Swinton, and in episode 4 of the 2021 BBC Netflix series The Serpent. I tell you all that, tell you maybe you know this song. Now, it was edited down, the single version, to 3.5 minutes. This song is actually over 7 minutes long, which also makes it quite the oddity on this album. It was also in the 1990 masterpiece Martin Scorsese film, Goodfellas. All right, Jump Into the Fire. I see how you get that down to a 3.5 minute single pretty easily, but you lose a lot of the magic of it. The bass work at the start from Herbie Flowers was just fantastic, and then it comes back in later on. And then the drumming from Jim Gordon, the drumming and the percussion, this rhythm section was outstanding. That's the highlight of this song, but it's just fantastic. I mean, Harry's singing on here. He can really get in to different voices and different styles. It's pretty amazing throughout this album. We still got one song left. I'll Never Leave You. All right, I'll Never Leave You. Pretty self-explanatory on what it's about, but once again, very interesting strings, unique sound with the strings, the horns. Harry just basically wanted to show you that he can do whatever, whenever, and I mean, I think it super works. It's interesting. You don't hear that much. Usually there's a theme throughout an album, especially in the 70s. Musically, it's at least cohesive. But this album, for me, is not, and that's a good thing. Which will bring me to my favorite tracks. Honorable mention, Gotta Get Up and Coconut. Faves, Without You and Jump Into the Fire, right? 10 songs, nice and concise, a little under 36 minutes. Just perfect that way. For me, an overall grade on first listen, I mean, it's so diverse, right? I got to give it an 8.25. I'm sure that's going to go up over time. I will be spinning this more often, like I said. Perfect length, just a really, really good one. So let me know what you think of this down below in the comments. What are your favorite songs off here? What do you give it? Anything else I should check out from Harry? I got to go find that Winning album. I didn't even know that thing was out there. So thanks to Carl for bringing it to me. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next time, I will see you.